In the heart of Australia stands Uluru, an ancient red monolith rising from the desert. Here, our adventure begins. A road trip south to Adelaide through the vast, ever-changing outback. With the car packed and the open road ahead, I'm ready to discover the real Australia. One of red dust, endless skies, and stories written in the land itself. Before leaving, I spend time with Uluru, its presence immense, its silence profound. The Anangu people's stories echo in the rock's ancient surface, grounding me for the journey ahead. As the sun shifts, Uluru's colours change, reminding me to slow down, listen, and carry its spirit as I set out into the outback. The car is ready. Fuel, water, maps, and essentials packed for the long, unpredictable road. Out here, self-sufficiency is survival. With a deep breath, I embrace the unknown, prepared for whatever the outback throws my way. The engine rumbles to life as dawn breaks. Uluru fades in the mirror, replaced by the promise of open road and the mysterious domes of Kata Tjuta on the horizon. The vastness ahead is humbling. Just me, the car, and the endless outback stretching all the way to Adelaide. Driving the Lassiter Highway, I'm surrounded by ochre earth and a boundless blue sky. The desert's rhythm is hypnotic, its beauty found in subtle details and fleeting mirages. Road trains thunder past, a reminder of the resilience required to live and travel in this ancient, powerful land. After an hour or so of driving, I find a safe place to pull over. I switch off the engine. The sudden silence is overwhelming. It's not an absence of sound, but a different kind of sound altogether. At first, all you hear is the ringing in your own ears, a residue from the noise of the car. But as you sit and listen, other, more subtle noises begin to emerge. There is the gentle whisper of the wind as it moves through the dry grasses. There is the faint, high-pitched buzz of insects. In the distance, a crow calls out, its cry sharp and clear in the still air. This is the true sound of the outback. It's a quiet, peaceful symphony that you can only hear when you stop and allow yourself to become part of the landscape. I get out of the car and walk a little way into the bush. The red sand crunches softly under my boots. The air is still and warm. I stand there for a long time, just breathing and listening. It's a deeply meditative experience. In our noisy, modern world, we are rarely exposed to such profound quiet. It has a cleansing effect on the soul, washing away the stress and clutter of everyday life, leaving you feeling calm and centered. You start to notice things you would otherwise miss. The intricate web of a spider spun between the branches of a mulga bush, the tiny tracks of a lizard in the dust, the delicate, papery petals of a desert flower, somehow surviving and thriving in this harsh environment. The desert is not empty. It is simply subtle. Its treasures are reserved for those who are patient, for those who take the time to look and listen. This practice of stopping and absorbing the silence becomes a cherished ritual for the rest of my journey. It's a way of connecting with the spirit of the place on a much deeper level. Back in the car, the world feels different. My senses feel sharper, more attuned to my surroundings. The colours seem brighter, the sky seems bigger, and the road ahead seems full of promise. The silence has recalibrated my perception. It's a powerful lesson that the outback teaches you. Sometimes the most meaningful experiences are found not in action but in stillness. It's a reminder to slow down, not just in speed, but in spirit. This journey is not just about covering distance. It's about discovering a new way of seeing and being in the world, guided by the quiet wisdom of the desert. Although I had left them behind, the presence of Kata Tjuta lingers in the mind. Earlier, as I drove away from Uluru, their silhouette dominated the western horizon. Unlike the single, solid form of Uluru, Kata Tjuta is a cluster of enormous, rounded domes. The Anangu people hold this place as equally sacred, if not more so. The name means many heads, and that's exactly what it looks like, a family of ancient giants sleeping on the plains. Seeing them from the road, with the morning sun catching their curved surfaces, is a sight of immense power and beauty. They seem to rise organically from the earth, sculpted by time itself. I had made a point to visit them before starting the main drive south, taking a detour into the national park. Walking among them is a completely different experience to walking around Uluru. The paths take you deep into the valleys and gorges that separate the giant domes. You are enveloped by the rocks, their steep reddish-brown walls towering on either side of you. The scale is immense, and you feel as though you have entered another world, a secret place hidden from the open plains. The air is cooler here in the shade, and the silence is even more profound, broken only by the echo of your own footsteps. The most famous walk is the Valley of the Winds. The name is perfect. As you climb higher, the wind funnels through the gaps between the domes, creating a constant sighing sound. It feels like the breath of the landscape itself. The walk is challenging in parts, scrambling over rocks and up steep inclines, but the rewards are spectacular. At the lookouts, you are greeted with panoramic views that stretch for miles across the desert floor. You see the other domes spread out before you, a maze of stone that has stood for over 500 million years. It's a humbling perspective on time and geology. Leaving Katachuta and rejoining the main highway, their image is burned into my memory. They are a perfect complement to Uluru. One is a singular, iconic statement. The other is a complex, mysterious community of stone. Together, they form the spiritual heart of this land. They are a powerful reminder that the wonders of the outback are not just in its vast emptiness, but also in these extraordinary geological formations that stand as monuments to the Earth's long and dramatic history. They provide a final, spectacular farewell from the red centre before the journey truly pushes south into new territories. Driving in the outback requires constant vigilance, not just for other vehicles, but for the creatures that call this place home. The road is kind of an unnatural intrusion into their world, and they often cross it without warning. Signs along the highway depict kangaroos, emus, and even camels, reminding drivers to be alert. During the day, you're most likely to see birds and reptiles. Large goannas, a type of monitor lizard, can often be seen sunning themselves on the warm asphalt. They are surprisingly large and prehistoric looking, and they usually scurry away into the scrub as the car approaches. Spotting wildlife really requires a patient eye. It's not like a zoo where animals are on display. Here, they are wild and often shy, perfectly camouflaged against the red earth and dry vegetation. I make a game of it, scanning the sides of the road for any sign of movement. I am rewarded with the sight of a flock of bright green budgerigars, a flash of colour as they explode from a bush and fly across the road. Later, a majestic wedge-tailed eagle soars effortlessly on the thermal currents high above, its huge wingspan casting a fleeting shadow on the ground below. These small encounters feel like precious gifts. The larger animals, like kangaroos and emus, tend to be more active during the cooler hours of dawn and dusk. This is when drivers must be most careful. As the afternoon wears on, I begin to see them. A lone emu, tall and stately, strides purposefully through the spinifex, its shaggy feathers bouncing with each step. It watches the car with a curious, intelligent eye before continuing on its way. Then, in the distance, I spot a small mob of red kangaroos. They are resting in the shade of a few sparse trees, their powerful hind legs tucked beneath them. They are the quintessential symbol of Australia, and seeing them in their natural habitat is a truly special moment. I pull over to watch the kangaroos from a safe distance, not wanting to disturb them. They are beautiful animals, their fur a perfect match for the red soil. One of them stands up tall, sniffing the air, before they all bound away with incredible grace and speed, disappearing into the vastness of the landscape. These moments of connection with the wildlife are a vital part of the outback experience. They remind you that this is not an empty land, but a complex ecosystem teeming with life. It's a world that existed long before the road, a world that you are merely a visitor in. The Lassiter Highway ends at a T-junction with the legendary Stuart Highway. This Great Sealed Road runs nearly 3,000 kilometres through the heart of Australia. Reaching it feels like a significant milestone. Turn right, head south towards Adelaide. The Stuart Highway is a lifeline connecting remote towns and communities. Road trains are common here, a testament to the immense distances. Named after explorer John McDougall Stuart, driving it evokes thoughts of early explorers. The road feels wider, more established, with a sense of purpose. A friendly wave is exchanged, a gesture of solidarity. The landscape remains consistent, but the highway gives a sense of direction. Destinations are getting closer with every kilometre. The journey enters a new phase on this iconic highway. At the intersection of the Lassiter and Stewart highways sits the Earldunda Roadhouse. In the vast outback, a roadhouse is a vital oasis for weary travellers. Pulling in feels like arriving at a bustling port. Inside, the roadhouse is a hive of activity, the walls covered with maps and outback memorabilia. It's a true crossroads, with tourists, truck drivers and local station hands. Earldunda proclaims itself as the centre of the centre. Leaving, I turn onto the Stewart Highway towards South Australia. The adventure truly begins, the road ahead stretching to the horizon. With the Earldunda Roadhouse shrinking in my rearview mirror, the Stewart Highway stretches ahead. As the sun sets, the light transforms the landscape. The red earth glows, shadows stretch, and the outback reveals its beauty. The emptiness is astounding. Driving becomes a form of meditation, a humbling experience connecting you to the vastness. Dusk brings intense colours. I pull over to watch the day's final moments. Silence deepens and stars emerge, blanketing the sky. The Milky Way is clear, connecting you to the universe. With the stars as my guide, I drive towards the distant lights of Kulgera. After driving through the twilight, the Kulgera Roadhouse appears. It's the first pub when entering the Northern Territory. Pulling into the car park feels like reaching a safe harbour. Inside, the walls are adorned with memorabilia from travellers. Locals sit at the bar, faces telling stories of hard work. I order a meal and a cold drink. The publican tells me about life in Kulgera. I stay the night in a motel room. The silence of the desert night envelops the settlement. Staying in Kulgera is an essential part of the outback experience. The next morning, I'm on the road early. The air is crisp and the sky is blue. Just south of Kulgera, I reach the border between the Northern Territory and South Australia. A simple sign marks the state line. I stop to take a photograph, commemorating the moment. Reflecting on the journey, the Northern Territory felt like the soul of ancient Australia. Now in South Australia, I wonder what lies ahead. The sign hints at a different character: festivals, wine, and settled landscapes. For hours, the landscape remains stubbornly unchanged. But I begin to notice subtle differences, signs I'm entering a new zone. Crossing the border is a mental shift, breaking the journey into manageable parts. Act 2 begins, a long drive through South Australia. After a few more hours of driving south from the border, a surprising sight appears on the horizon. It's a cluster of trees, greener and taller than the surrounding scrub. As I get closer, this mirage solidifies into a genuine oasis, the Cadney homestead. Like Earldunda and Kulgera before it, Cadney is another of the vital roadhouses strung along the Stewart Highway. But this one feels different. There is a deliberate effort to cultivate greenery here. Lawns are watered and green, and shady trees provide welcome relief from the ever-present sun. It feels like a small pocket of defiance against the harsh, arid landscape that surrounds it. I pull in for a mid-morning break. The contrast between the dusty red plains I've been driving through and the cool green sanctuary of the homestead is immediately calming. The homestead is part of a massive cattle station, also called Cadney Park, which covers thousands of square kilometres of land. The roadhouse serves not only travellers like me, but also the station workers and people from the surrounding region. It's a hub for the local pastoral community. You can feel a different rhythm here, one tied to the land and the seasons of cattle farming, rather than just the constant flow of traffic on the highway. Inside the roadhouse, I get talking to one of the station hands who is grabbing a cold drink. He's a young man with a friendly face, his clothes covered in a fine layer of red dust. He tells me about his work, the long days spent on horseback or a motorbike, mustering cattle across vast, unfenced plains. He speaks of the challenges of drought and the constant work of maintaining bores and fences. His stories paint a vivid picture of a life that is incredibly tough, but also deeply rewarding. It's a life of immense freedom and a profound connection to the land, something that city dwellers can only imagine. This brief encounter is a powerful reminder that the outback is not just a tourist route, it is a working landscape. People's livelihoods depend on this arid environment. The homesteads and cattle stations are the backbone of the region's economy and culture. Leaving the green haven of Cadney Homestead and returning to the highway, I have a renewed appreciation for the human element of this journey. The stories of the people who live and work here are as much a part of the landscape as the red earth and the endless sky. They are the threads of resilience and perseverance woven into the fabric of the Australian outback. Just before Coober Pedy, a turnoff leads to the Canku Breakaways Conservation Park. The landscape is utterly different, with flat plains giving way to mesas and colourful hills. The colours are stunning. It's a surreal and silent world managed by the local Antakarinja people. From the lookout, you can see the dog fence. As the sun sets, the colours intensify, creating dramatic beauty. It's a place that feels ancient and peaceful. The breakaways showcase the geological diversity of the South Australian outback. The beauty of this place leaves a lasting impression. Leaving the colourful spectacle of the breakaways behind, I rejoin the highway for the short, final drive into Coober Pedy. The landscape immediately begins to change again, but this time, the transformation is man-made. The ground on either side of the road becomes pockmarked with thousands of small, conical piles of pale, sandy earth. They look like giant termite mounds, or perhaps the craters of a strange, miniature moon. These are the mullock heaps, the discarded earth from countless opal mines. This bizarre and unique scenery is the first sign that you are approaching one of the most unusual towns on the planet. Coober Pedy is famous for two things: its precious opal and its underground living. The name itself is thought to come from an Aboriginal term, Cooper Pedy, which means white man's hole. It's an apt description. For over a century, miners have been digging into the earth here, searching for the flashes of colour that signal the presence of opal. The extreme summer heat, which can soar to nearly 50 degrees Celsius, forced the early miners to find a creative solution for shelter. They began to carve their homes, known as dugouts, directly into the soft sandstone of the hillsides, creating a subterranean town. As I drive into the town itself, the strangeness of it all becomes even more apparent. On the surface, it looks like a dusty, scattered settlement. But the real town is hidden from view. Chimneys and ventilation shafts poke out of the ground in seemingly random places. The only external signs of the homes, hotels, shops, and even churches that exist below the surface. It is a truly unique adaptation to a harsh environment. The promise of finding a fortune in opal has drawn people from all over the world to this remote corner of South Australia, creating a multicultural and resilient community with a pioneering spirit. Parking the car and stepping out into the late afternoon sun, I feel a sense of immense curiosity and excitement. Coober Pedy is not just another outback town, it's a destination in its own right, a place where human ingenuity has carved out a life in one of the world's most inhospitable environments. It feels like arriving on another planet. I'm eager to explore this subterranean world, to meet the people who call these holes in the ground their home, and to learn more about the obsessive, hopeful search for the beautiful stone that built this extraordinary town. The journey has delivered me to a place unlike any other. Leaving Coober Pedy feels like returning to Earth. The Stuart Highway pushes south, the landscape flat and arid. But then, something changes on the horizon. Jagged shapes grow larger, heralding the Flinders Ranges. After endless flat terrain, ancient peaks rise dramatically. The road curves, winding around foothills. The air changes, carrying eucalyptus. The colours shift, a complex palette of purples, oranges, and greens. These ancient mountains tell the story of early animal life. Driving towards them, you enter a grand, special place. Pastoral life emerges. Sheep graze peacefully. Stone ruins stand as testaments to pioneers. The landscape is wild, shaped by history. The Flinders Ranges bridge the outback and settled lands. The journey enters its beautiful final act. Deep in the heart of the Flinders Ranges lies Wilpena Pound. To truly appreciate its scale, one must see it from the air. From above, the sight is astonishing. Wilpena Pound reveals itself as a huge, oval-shaped basin, ringed by jagged quartzite peaks. It covers nearly 80 square kilometres, a vast protected valley. The only entrance is a narrow gorge. Back on the ground, the experience is just as impressive. Standing in the middle of Wilpena Pound is a humbling experience. The silence is profound. Wilpena Pound is the jewel in the crown of the Flinders Ranges, a place of immense natural beauty. One of the most remarkable drives within the Flinders Ranges is the Burkina Gorge Geological Trail. This 20-kilometre trip winds its way through a spectacular gorge. What makes this drive so special is that it is a journey through time, creating a natural corridor through the Earth's history. Signposts act as guides, explaining the different rock layers. The colours in the gorge are simply breathtaking, representing different minerals and sediments laid down in an ancient sea. As you drive, you pass through layers that contain some of the oldest fossil evidence of multicellular life on Earth. The gorge is also a haven for wildlife, including shy yellow-footed rock wallabies. You have not just seen a beautiful landscape, you have travelled through deep time, a world-class geological monument. Leaving the Flinders Ranges, the landscape softens as I encounter the delightful town of Quorn. Arriving here is like stepping back in time. It's a beautifully preserved railway town with grand, historic stone buildings. Quorn has a peaceful atmosphere, and the locals are friendly. Quorn's history is linked with the railway. Today, the town's railway heritage is celebrated by the Peachy Reachy Railway. The Peachy Reachy Railway is a heritage steam train that operates on a restored section of the old line. Even visiting the historic station is a treat. This charming, well-preserved town feels like a gentle reintroduction to civilization. Quorn is a perfect example of the fascinating small towns that dot the South Australian countryside. Leaving Quorn and the southern Flinders Ranges behind, the landscape undergoes its most dramatic transformation yet. The red earth and rugged hills finally give way to a gentle, rolling countryside of brilliant green. I have entered the Clare Valley, one of South Australia's most famous and beautiful wine regions. The change is astonishing. Suddenly, I am driving through a landscape that looks more like Tuscany or Provence than the Australia I have been travelling through for the past 2 weeks. Neat, orderly rows of grapevines march across the hillsides. Their leaves are vibrant green under the warm sun. The air smells sweet and fertile. The contrast with the outback could not be more stark. The vast, empty spaces have been replaced by a landscape that is carefully cultivated and productive. The colour palette has shifted from reds and oranges to 1,000 shades of green and gold. Instead of dusty roadhouses, the road is now dotted with charming stone wineries, their cellar doors inviting visitors to stop and taste their produce. The Clare Valley is particularly famous for its Riesling, a crisp, dry white wine that is perfectly suited to the region's climate. The sense of arrival in a land of bounty and abundance is palpable. I decide to take a break from driving and indulge in the local culture. I stop at one of the historic wineries, a beautiful estate with stone buildings dating back to the 1850s. The cellar door is cool and welcoming. I spend a delightful hour tasting different wines, guided by a knowledgeable and passionate winemaker who explains the unique characteristics of the local soil and climate. It's a wonderful sensory experience, a taste of the land in a very different way from the dust and heat of the desert. The journey has shifted from one of pure observation of nature to one of participation in its cultivated pleasures. Driving slowly through the valley, past picturesque towns like Clare, Seven Hill and Auburn, I feel the journey nearing its conclusion. The scenery is gentle on the eye, a soft and welcoming landscape that feels like a reward after the harshness of the outback. The Clare Valley is the final, beautiful gateway to Adelaide. It represents the bounty of South Australia, a state that is blessed with fertile land and a climate that produces some of the world's best food and wine. It is the perfect transition, preparing me for the urban sophistication and civilized pleasures of the city that now lies just over the southern hills. The drive out of the Clare Valley marks the beginning of the final leg of this grand adventure. The rolling hills covered in vines slowly merge into flatter, more open plains of agricultural land. This is the breadbasket of South Australia, Vast fields of golden wheat and barley stretch to the horizon, punctuated by small farming towns and clusters of tall grain silos. The roads become busier now. There are more cars, more trucks, and the pace of life seems to quicken with every kilometre travelled south. The single, lonely ribbon of the Stuart Highway feels like a distant memory from another lifetime. The signs of a major city begin to appear. First, they are small things, more frequent road signs, turn-offs to suburban-sounding towns, and the appearance of power lines that march in unison across the landscape. Then the road widens, splitting into multiple lanes. The traffic becomes thicker, more constant. I pass industrial estates and new housing developments that sprawl across the plains. The wild, open spaces that have been my constant companion for so long have now been completely replaced by the ordered, structured landscape of modern urban life. The transition is complete. Then I see it. From the top of a gentle rise, the city of Adelaide spreads out before me, nestled on the coastal plain between the hills and the sea. The late afternoon sun glints off the glass of the city's tall buildings, creating a distant, shimmering skyline. It is a sight that fills me with a strange mixture of emotions. There is a sense of triumph and accomplishment at having crossed this vast continent. There is excitement at the prospect of exploring a new city with all its culture, food, and energy. But there is also a touch of sadness that this incredible journey across the outback is finally coming to an end. As I navigate the city's outer suburbs, the traffic flows around me, and the noise of urban life fills the air. It's a world away from the profound silence of the desert night. The contrast is jarring, yet exhilarating. I have travelled from the spiritual, ancient heart of Australia to its civilised southern coast. The journey has been one of immense distances, incredible landscapes, and unforgettable experiences. It has shown me the many faces of this continent, from its raw, untamed wilderness to its gentle, cultivated beauty. Now a new adventure begins, to discover the soul of Adelaide, the city that has been the final destination and the shining goal of this long road. My entry into Adelaide is through a corridor of green. This is my first and perhaps most lasting impression of the city. Adelaide is encircled by a magnificent belt of parklands, a visionary design that has protected it from endless urban sprawl. After weeks in the outback, the lush greenery is a feast for the eyes. This green embrace is the city's way of saying welcome. I take a slow walk, feeling the soft grass under my feet. It's a scene of peaceful, everyday life, and it feels wonderfully civilized. This green belt is the city's lung, a place for recreation and connection with nature. It's a testament to the foresight of Colonel William Light, who envisioned a city where people could live in harmony with nature. Reaching Adelaide and being greeted by this sea of green feels like arriving in an oasis. Flowing through the heart of Adelaide is the River Torrens. It's a place of beauty, drawing people to its banks. The river is calm, reflecting the sky. Graceful black swans glide silently. Scullers row rhythmically. The iconic Popeye boats chug along, filled with tourists. Across the river stands the impressive Adelaide Oval. This riverside precinct feels like the heart of the city. The sun sets, the city lights twinkle. It feels like the perfect end to an Australian story. From the tranquil banks of the River Torrens, it is just a short walk to North Terrace, Adelaide's grandest and most impressive street. This wide, tree-lined boulevard is the city's cultural heart. It is flanked on one side by the lush greenery of the parklands, and on the other by a magnificent collection of stately, historic buildings. Walking along its wide pavements feels like taking a stroll through Adelaide's history and its commitment to the arts and knowledge. The architecture is a stunning mix of classical and modern, a testament to a city that respects its past while confidently looking to the future. It is a street designed for promenading, for seeing and being seen. Here, clustered together in impressive sandstone buildings, are the state's most important cultural institutions. There is the Art Gallery of South Australia, home to a wonderful collection of Australian and international art. Next to it stands the South Australian Museum, with its fascinating exhibits on natural history and Aboriginal culture. Then comes the State Library of South Australia, a beautiful building that combines a historic book-lined chamber with a sleek modern wing. These institutions are not just buildings, they are treasure houses of stories, knowledge and creativity, all offered freely to the public. They give the city a sense of intellectual weight and cultural richness. I pause in front of the State Library, admiring its grand Victorian architecture. Through the glass doors, I can see people reading, studying, and exploring. The whole boulevard has a calm, scholarly atmosphere, a world away from the commercial hustle and bustle of other city centres. Further along, I pass the grand buildings of the University of Adelaide, with students spilling out onto the lawns, chatting and laughing in the afternoon sun. The presence of the university adds to the street's vibrant, youthful energy. North Terrace is not a stuffy, museum-like precinct. It is a living, breathing part of the city, a place of learning and discovery for people of all ages. This concentration of culture along one beautiful boulevard is another example of Adelaide's brilliant urban planning. It makes the city's cultural life incredibly accessible. You can spend a whole day on North Terrace, wandering from a gallery to a museum to a library, with a relaxing break in the parklands just across the road. It feels sophisticated and deeply civilized. After the raw, elemental experiences of the outback, this immersion in human culture and creativity is a stimulating and welcome change. It is another facet of the Australian experience, showcasing the country's commitment to the life of the mind. As my first day in Adelaide ends, my overwhelming impression is one of calmness. This city has a gentle, unhurried pace. I find a small cafe in a laneway, one of Adelaide's charms, filled with quirky bars and intimate eateries. I order a coffee and watch the world go by. The city seems a perfect size, large enough to have culture, but small enough to feel friendly. This sense of ease and livability is Adelaide's greatest asset. It is the final destination in a journey of contrasts. As I sip my coffee, I feel a deep sense of satisfaction, ready to explore this charming capital. Adelaide is known as the Festival City. The streets are alive with a vibrant, celebratory atmosphere. The city's parklands are home to temporary venues, creating a village of arts and entertainment. It feels like the entire city has been given over to a joyous party. There's an incredible diversity of offerings, from theatre and music to comedy and street performers. One of the most magical parts of the festival is the Garden of Unearthly Delights. As dusk falls, the garden is illuminated with thousands of twinkling fairy lights, creating a truly magical atmosphere. It's a joyful celebration of life that captures the essence of Adelaide's festival spirit. It's a celebration of human connection, creativity, and shared joy. It's a wonderful, life-affirming end to my journey. The drive from Uluru to Adelaide was a journey through the changing tastes of Australia. In the outback, meals were simple and hearty. A classic Aussie pub meal was always a welcome sight. Further south, food incorporated native ingredients. Then came the Clare Valley, with its wonderful cheeses and elegant wines. Arriving in Adelaide, the culinary journey reached its grand finale. The Adelaide Central Market is a must-visit. Adelaide's restaurants make the most of local produce. The contrast between outback meals and refined Adelaide dishes mirrors the journey itself. It's a culinary tale of two very different Australias. Sitting in an Adelaide cafe, the outback feels like a dream. Yet, the echoes of the desert are still with me. I find myself noticing the sky more, appreciating its colour. I've got this new appreciation for silence, seeking out quiet moments. The outback changes you in subtle ways. I think back to those long, straight roads, the feeling of immense space. Most of all, it taught me the importance of stopping and simply being present in the moment. They are the human heart of the outback, a community bound together. This road trip was so much more than a holiday. It was a pilgrimage. The red dust that still clings to my boots is a physical reminder of that connection. A part of me will always remain out there under that enormous sky. The journey on the map has ended, but the journey in my heart will continue. The journey from Uluru to Adelaide is a tale of two Australias, a story of profound and beautiful contrasts. It begins in a place that feels like the beginning of time, a sacred landscape. This is an Australia that is spiritual, timeless, and deeply connected to its Indigenous heritage. The journey ends in Adelaide, a city of culture, refinement, and civilized pleasures. It is green, fertile, and sophisticated. These two Australias are essential parts of a complex whole. The road trip between them stitches them together. Travelling the Stuart Highway, you move through the heart of what makes this country unique. It is a journey that connects the ancient heart of Australia to its vibrant modern soul.